It's a stern voice.
Hi, everyone. We may, hopefully a few more people will, sign on. Oh, there's Janice and Jessica. Hi, Janice.
Hello.
You're behind your veil. And Jessica, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So we'll get started, and we have quorum. We have more than 5 members here. And I guess we need to go through the roll call to verify that people are here. So I'll start with the people in the room. So Monica here, me, I'm here, Harriet, Bill,
Here.
Dick,
Here.
Jessica,
Cressica is here.
here, and Janice.
Here.
So hopefully, maybe Trevor, will make it. So first item is approval of the minutes from last month, which have been circulated. Any move to approve?
I move to approve.
Second? Holly, any comments, any discussion? Yes.
Just 2 points. One, when I reviewed the minutes, I remembered that I had asked for a copy of the solar installation contract at the library, and I haven't seen it. I don't know if anybody else has. And 2, an addendum, not additional. I keep the records for, I had suggested that for the buildings that have been insulated and weatherized, we have before and after data. And if we manage to acquire those, I'm willing to keep the records on them as I do for the town accounts.
You're talking about the homes? Okay, so we'll have to ask Kizzy, who I think has that information, at least as to the,
Those are important data to support any
right,
future requests.
okay. I mean, there's been several things that have been done, some of which was the audits. Now, we don't know, I don't think we necessarily have follow-up on the people who were audited. We could perhaps look into that. Another was the window dressers, and that was just completed, so it's too soon for that. And the third was the do-it-yourself weatherization.
Any weatherizing or insulating,
Okay.
it would be great if we could demonstrate an effect.
Okay. All right, so any other discussion about the minutes?
They look fine to me. I didn't see any errors.
Okay, so, vote on the minutes then. Monica? Approve. Me? Yes.
Approved.
Bill? Dick?
No.
Holly? I approve. Jessica?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes, I approve.
And Trevor? Looks like Trevor's on now.
Yes, I approve.
Okay. All right, so it seems like a long agenda, but I did allow some time at the end for discussion about kind of some of the next steps and things that we've had conversations about, but to formalize a little bit. But to start with, we have some updates on our ongoing projects. And if there's nothing new to add, we'll just move on. We don't have to say much. So, Jessica, do you have anything? Is there anything new on the library?
Solar Logics is still preparing the contract, so nobody has the contract. And we're still working on soliciting heat pump bids.
Yes, I met with another heat pump installer last week who said that he would have a proposal by mid this week. So hopefully by our next meeting, we'll have a concrete, a final plan on that. What about the municipal building?
We're working on the environmental review and working towards the approval of the solar array and EV chargers. So that's still in process.
Okay. So the EV chargers have not yet been moved, right?
Correct.
So that covers that. I had a conversation with Fred in which he expressed concern. I think you've heard that this has been discussed previously, but when this building, his office and the fire station, when that remodeling project is done, I know we were reassured that the heat pumps that have already been installed would not need to be moved. But he wanted to make sure that someone from the committee was in contact with the construction folks when that gets underway. And that, I mean, obviously his concern was if something had to be moved, what that would cost and where that would come from. So we just need to keep in touch with him on that.
Well, I'm happy to do that, but I'd just like to know when that, I mean, I don't want to reach out to them in order to figure out when that's gonna happen.
Yeah, he wasn't sure when that was gonna start. I don't know if anybody else has heard anything.
Do we have a time schedule on the?
He wasn't sure when I spoke to him, so, but he thought it was gonna be in this fiscal year.
The last time I heard a timeline, it was supposed to be spring of 2025.
Yeah. So we'll keep in touch with him on that. So from what Cressica just said, doesn't sound like there's much more update on the EV chargers, is that correct?
Correct. That's all the information I have right now.
Dick, do you have anything to?
Is there a question on the heat pump? Is there a heat pump included in this library project at this time or not?
We don't have the library?
Yeah.
The library heat pumps, we're waiting, that's why I just said we're gathering additional, proposals, estimates.
Okay. Because there's a lot happening at the state level that I'm very close to,
Mhm.
you know, which involves that. And it's heat pumps,
Okay.
not just heat pumps, but heat pumps off peak. Storage energy, so that the heat pump does not peak the utility. And that's a big discussion right now. I had kind of a webinar with the governor's office 3 days ago on that
Okay.
subject. And submitted a company that I'm very close to in North Dakota, believe it or not, that makes a heat pump storage heater. It's a storage heating element, thermal storage element to go with the heat pump. And allows the heat pump to be put off peak, and it's very advantageous to the utility as well as to the customer.
Would you send me a reference for that
I sure
piece of
will.
equipment?
Yeah, maybe circulate that to everyone, that sounds pretty
I have not-
interesting.
Sent it out to the committee yet because I just finished the report
Yeah,
to the governor's office on the subject.
that has not been part of the proposals. We have talked about storage as part of our larger
Yeah.
planning,
This is thermal storage,
Yeah.
heat storage.
heat storage. Oh,
Put a lot of concrete in the building.
yeah, how would that work? I mean, most of the heat pumps are actually
The heat pump-
outside.
The storage heaters have been around for many years.
Yeah.
All over the world, but not in Maine.
Uh-huh.
Because of the rate structures in Maine, they've not encouraged it. When they sold the capacity in the state, so that the utilities don't own any generation here, they don't own anything.
Right,
They didn't regulate the rate structure of the supply section of the bill.
mhm,
And since they didn't, there was no off-peak provision in that,
right,
and they don't today. But that's a huge issue right now on the governor's energy office.
okay,
And I just finished my response to that whole issue, today, and as soon as I get it out the door, I'll get the committee, I'll send a
okay,
copy.
thank you. Anything else you, on the main utility policy or
Yeah, I have-
rates?
3 things and then I'll be brief. The
Yeah, go ahead.
first is this, I have
Monica
more
had a
information on
question.
scams.
Yeah.
The scam, for that, is it my turn to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The scam information, which I have quite a bit of it now, and a rough draft. But I put it off because I wanted to finish the response to the Patel question that Patel issued a 123-page report to the governor's office a week ago. And they asked for comments from me on that subject, and I just finished them today.
Okay.
So I have not written up anything here. I also have next year's proposal, budget, the energy cost for the municipality, which, as I think most people know, is being served by Maine Power Options. And the rate has dropped 2 cents from 12 cents roughly to 10 cents, 10.3 cents a kilowatt hour for the municipality. So we're seeing an energy reduction. And I haven't quite figured out whether we should sign up for 12 months or 24 or what. And, but the contract with Maine Power Options is up at the end of the year, so I have some time to make sure. And here's the quotation here. It actually comes from Constellation, is the utility that supplies the power to Maine Power Options, and Maine Power Options is the agent for Constellation
Right.
here in Maine and for this municipality, Islesboro. And we have 10 accounts. We, the town, has 10 accounts with Maine Power Options right now.
Right.
All different sizes, from streetlights to the whole municipality we're in. And probably the school should be on it. I told them about it.
I have no data at all from the school. They exist independently of just about everything.
Thank you. I thought it was me. We'll probably get the community center, which is a 501c3.
I have the data for the community center.
What's that?
I have all the data for the community center.
Okay, we could sign up today and get cheaper power. It costs $140 to sign up.
Let's talk, I'll take it to, there's a meeting next week of the board of the ICC, I'll take it.
It's $140 and it's good forever. I think that's so they can open up an account and pay for this opening account, basically. And what else do I have? I had a couple of things. Oh, I mentioned the governor's office here, and I don't have all the data on that. It's a 123-page report from a company in Cambridge, Massachusetts called Patel. Or Brattle, I should say, not Patel. And a lot of dialogue and not much action, frankly. But so that's why I'm proposing that we have a time of use rate at the supply level, as well as the distribution and transmission, which we have now. And when we get that, then we can put in an off-peak heat pump and make it, everybody wins then.
Okay. Any other comments? Or questions? I'm gonna skip the community event for the moment, and we'll come back to that when we talk about number 7. The firehouse project. Monica, do you want to report?
Yeah,
I mean,
we met last Thursday at the firehouse and went over a few things. The number one thing we want to focus on right now is the generator room. Part of the wall for the installation of the generator, and you to come out and get in and out. Quick fix patch happened, but over time, something has been pushed into the wall, causing the wall to concave a little bit on itself, and that's
Probably a
losing.
fire truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't wanna call them out, but, so it's an easy fix, replace some trimming, re-screw some screws, put a little bit of mud taping on it. Mark did say keep it open because they need that for accessibility if they ever need to replace the generator. We pretty much came down to the assumption that there's little or no insulation in the walls, which leads to possible use of heat pumps in the attic later. Bill said that he would contact Evergreen to get a quote for the attic space for insulation.
I have reached out to Brian Robinson about this. He's not gotten back to me, so I will pursue that.
All right. And we checked out a few other things such as the garage door that's causing a few inches gap on the floor, allowing flow in and out. Pretty much on the garage door itself, the mechanism, there is a bent straight bar. It's now causing a bit of a degree, causing the whole garage door up on the right side. The quick solution at the moment is just remembering to push the button once again so it can go all the way down completely. Mert informed us that he does contact the company to come out and try to fix it. It takes them about a month to come out here once you make an appointment. And he said they usually come in and then they leave. They don't really stay for someone to ask questions. So that is just making sure the door gets closed. We went around and looked at the windows because someone spoke about there's being issues with the windows. Mert said there was nothing. We felt around it. They're pretty secure and sealed up tight. Mert did give some interest about installing a heat lamp or two to help with the de-icing of the trucks. He was thinking about doing one or two in between the ambulance bay and the fire engine bay in the middle. Another thing he brought up was that the pit drain, there's problems with it due to the exit piping outside. It goes over a piece of ledge causing a vent to happen. So the draining is not being proper in there at the moment. When we were talking about the possible heat pumps afterwards, Harriet did went and spoke with Fred after, and he said with OSHA's regulations, we need to update the air evacuation system, which would be in the attic, and we talked about that at the very beginning of the meeting about how the firehouse needs that in general. And we would like to work with the building project, like talking about them, about the Up Island station, especially with like future lane placement of plumbing. I know that wasn't in the discussion or the design at first, but there are a few concerns, especially like EMT, EMS's, fire department. You never really know what you're going through. It's not like what people were saying on Facebook is like, can you just hold your pee? It's like, well, like, you don't know what scenes you're going to, you don't know what you're gonna be around, and there could possibly be a situation where you wanna get it off quickly. It's not a place for us to like hang out and train at the moment, we understand that. But it's just more of also letting you know that like we have helping hands on the island, especially young contracting workers and like people who are going to school for plumbing, HVAC, welding. So I think that's a really good opportunity to start working with the younger folk and like the younger contractors who are trying to make it out here who want to help and have a station up island. That's about it for the meeting, so.
So, yeah, I mean, we did have, as you pointed out, an discussion around the heat there. Because the doors open wide, the temperature drops quickly. They need a powerful reheat possibility, which the oil furnace provides. Even with that, it takes a while to warm that space back up once the doors have been open. But
We will have a better insight to just how fast that happens
Yeah.
this winter. Because we'll be able to track the response of the room to the
Right.
thermostat.
so, but we had talked about the possibility that, you know, a heat pump connected with the air evacuation system could help maintain the temperature when the doors are closed. It would not be the primary heating system and therefore probably would not qualify for rebates. So we just have to look into the cost of all of that. But as Monica pointed out, Fred told us that they need to improve the air evacuation system to meet OSHA standards. So something's got to be done there anyway. So there might be an opportunity to combine those two things.
I will add on about the firehouse. Mert and the firefighters say thank you for allowing them to use the leftover funds for the cell block purchase. We had our training session on Saturday. We learned a lot. It wasn't just about the product, but we learned a refresher course on like electricity, about power, safety, solar panels, charging stations and whatnot. So it really helped having the course instructor come to the island and speak to us instead of making the firefighters like go to the mainland, possibly spending a night. But we just say thank you for the purchase and the class.
Was there any, did they have any advice that we should be communicating to the community about, you know, should people who own electric cars have
We,
something on blankets on hand or?
They have a flyer of theirs that they made. They worked it like Cell Block was created in New York City because every shift there was like some type of electrical fire going on. So now every truck is equipped with their Cell Block pack to help out. But the flyer has a lot of information about like proper storing, proper care of batteries and ESS systems. They also really focused on how everyone needs to be like informed on like quick power shut off ports for charging at your home, charging in the town, charging at ICC. Also for solar panels,
Need to be informed about, what about
like
those?
quick turn off points.
Mhm.
So if there is something that happens and you notice it before a fire, you can just run out and turn it off on the box.
Mhm.
And just being informed with that. I was gonna talk to Mert about printing out that flyer and putting it in the mailer, cause that gives help with it.
Yeah.
We learned quite a lot, especially one thing with like solar panels, he was talking about. You really need to focus on three things, which is like your resources, where you are, if you're gonna start doing a solar farm. The mastery and experience of the person who put the project together and put the solar panels together. Because they're gonna be able to be the quickest to turn it off and fix a solution if a problem comes up. And then also just like your safety in the areas, such as like, it's Ellsboro, it's an island, our fire department isn't really that big, so if there is an issue, it's gonna be harder. And overall, if it ever comes to like an EV, fire, an electric car fire, one of the biggest things they taught us is like, you have to contain the area and let it go out. There's not really much you can do, just because if you use water, it contaminates the ground. If you use sand, it contaminates. You have to get DEP to come over here and take everything away. So I think in the future, if the energy committee is gonna work towards solar farming on the island, we really gotta be mindful of what we have out here. Because we don't have the materials that a city would have. And one example he gave us was out in Surprise, Arizona, in April 2019. A electric company had a storage container full of like batteries and equipment. A lot of smoke started coming, so the fire department came out and 4 firefighters went in to check it out. And when they opened the door, it exploded on them.
God.
And then a few years later, one of them has passed from cancer that he got from inhaling all of the electrical smoke. And then in Chandler, Arizona, April 2022, the same thing happened, just in a different town. And they used robots that time to put the fire out and get the door open and get things ready. So it's just kind of being mindful of how rural Ellsboro is when we're starting to convert over to clean energy.
Monica,
I would say-
those weren't electric vehicle batteries. Those were like computer batteries or whatever, right? Because there's
Yeah, they were not electric vehicle batteries at all, but we were also told about a fire explosion that happened with a charging port installed in someone's home with their car plugged in. The fire department tried going up close and the garage door exploded onto them. And the night after the class, my aunt, she actually had a house fire due to a third-party charging device for her e-bike. And she was able to like get out really quickly, everything was fine, they put it out, fire department came. But it's kind of like that, is educating the community of like, third-party charging systems are really wonky at times, like, yeah, it's much cheaper, but you have less resistance, you have less safety. Just what to do if there ever is a fire, like who to contact. I do have a phone number to give you guys, I'll email it to you, but it's the Tesla's first responder numbers, so if anyone has a Tesla, they should have it on them in case there ever is an issue with their vehicle. And they call you and you call them and they tell you what to do, so.
Yeah,
Right.
I think this would be really good stuff for some of our community education.
Yeah.
Efforts. Pretty important. All right, so prize activities update. Jessica, wanna,
The one activity that has been follow-up from the prize is the window dressers. I think that's happened since our last meeting. And we were able to complete that. The community build.
main one, so. Anything else you want, so the window dressers was very successful, I mean, there was like 150 window inserts made for members of the community, and there was a lot of volunteer participation. Well,
I'll
some
say.
people in this room.
Yeah, I'll say they work. They're great. We put it on our oldest part of the house that's not insulated well, and the windows were the biggest source of heat loss. And within a few minutes, that area that we installed the window inserts in, it got nice and warm, and it stayed warm from now on. It's not a dip down into cold anymore. So great job. Like, no, thank you.
All right, so I did pass around, now the report that I circulated on the budget was, again, just a summary that I got, pulling things from the spreadsheet that I get from the town treasurer. We haven't spent very much of our, budgeted money for 2024-25, although as we've discussed, there's quite a few, we've got things in the works. I did not include in what I circulated today the 2023-24 expenses that were paid in this year. That was on, I sent that out last time. The energy prize, we plan to, we'll do a more detailed review of the energy prize budget, but suffice to say that about half of the original prize was budgeted towards our community outreach coordinator, and that money, is gonna run out. She's aware of that. Some of the money has been earmarked for use for a consultant, and we're still hoping to be able to use that for planning of our future projects. But it got put on hold because we didn't succeed in getting the follow-up funding that we had hoped for. And that kind of leads us into the next topic. I had hoped to spend some time talking about several things. Some of us met to do some brainstorming around, what our next options are. I mean, just to sort of take a step back. Our goals here as a committee, and feel free to step in if I leave something out, but our goals are to improve energy efficiency on the island. And the committee started with the municipal buildings, but also helping community members, and also to reduce the use of fossil fuels and provide alternatives, renewable energy, and to make it affordable, and also to improve resiliency on the island. The ETIP report from a couple of years ago recommended working towards the development of solar arrays and microgrids and storage. So everything Monica said is relevant to that concept. When we did the grant applications back in June and July, we identified quite a few landowners who were willing to consider putting, small scale solar arrays on them, but further planning kind of was stalled because funding didn't come through. So there are some additional grant opportunities that we can apply for in the next few months. Do you want me to go on, or Cressica, do you want to talk about what the grant options are?
Sure. So the first grant coming, or opportunity coming up, is the Island Fellow that we've been able to talk with the Sea Level Rise Committee that they won't pursue the Island Fellow this time, so we might be able to submit an application. And Janice is spearheading that application and trying to potentially reach out to other groups that we could collaborate with for energy efficiency, in addition to home energy efficiency, in addition to continuing our community outreach and kind of energy planning efforts on the island that we started with the Energy Prize. Janice, do you want to say anything else about that right now?
No, I've talked with Shay and got a copy of their fellow application, which actually Dave, my husband, had written, and I forgot that he wrote it. And I've been in touch with Lisa something or other at the Island Institute, and so she said she's happy we're thinking of applying, and I'll probably have an appointment with her after Thanksgiving to talk about what we're thinking of doing.
Great. Thank you, Janice. The second opportunity is another prize. It's called the Community Power Accelerator. We have about 1 month to apply for it. It's basically would be continuing our initiative to work with landowners on the island to develop 1 or 2 community solar arrays. And that application, yeah, basically it's this similar to the Rural Energy Prize in that it requires partnerships and will work towards getting us financing. That's the goal of this prize. So Janice has also been working on that application and reaching out to potential partners. That's in process, and I think it's better for us to mention those potential partners when we have more concrete information, rather than talking about them right now, if that's okay. Harriet?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if people have not agreed to something, you know,
Right.
put it in the public record is probably not the right move right now.
Okay. Thank you.
But just to sort of elaborate on that a little bit, I mean, one of the requirements of this is that we have a solar developer to partner with. And the company that we had been talking to back in the springtime has said they do not have, they're a West Coast company, and they.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
They're the microgrid developer, so they might or might not be partners on this prize. Janice is identifying solar developers within Maine.
Okay, I'm
So,
sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
They're looking, but it's not just on island organizations that we're looking to partner with. We need a developer to partner with as well. And then the other grant.
Oh, do you want, okay, so the final grant for now, there's a couple opportunities next year that we might pursue, but in the near term, there's this new, it's from the Department of Energy. It's called the Energy Improvements in Rural and Remote Areas grant, and it's on the order of 2 million to, I think it's $11 million for smaller communities to do a community-based project. Those communities have to be under 10,000 people, so we qualify. So, and some entities at NREL have reached out to us, and they're willing to support our application, so we might be able to move forward with NREL's support, you know, which NREL we worked with on the ETIP program as well. And we are identifying another microgrid developer who might be able to help us with that application as well. That application is due at the end of February. It's just a concept paper. So we'd be working for the next, I guess, 3 months on developing that 7-page concept paper.
The first one is due sooner, but they tie together. And so the work done on that is, can be used for the second application as well. So there was one other thing.
Could I ask
Yeah.
one more thing? Is that energy improvement and rural remote thing, is that the same thing as OSED? Or is that two different
Yeah.
things? Okay.
Yep, the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations is
Oh, that's what it
the
stands for.
administrator for the ERA grant.
So, question. The other thing I wanted to, tell everybody about was, we're renewing, we currently belong along with, the Sea Level Rise Committee, to something called the Community Resilience Partnership. And there's no money associated with joining the Community Resilience Partnership, but it does, you have to be a member to apply for some other funding opportunities. And at the moment, the Sea Level Rise Committee has one of their grants and is applying for another one at the present time. The opportunities come up about once or twice a year. But we went through and Shay Conover is pretty much filling out the paperwork for that. It's really primarily filing a report on what the community has accomplished over the last 2 years in the way of improving resilience. And it includes energy issues as well as some other things, hazard mitigation and that kind of thing. When we went through, and so the document is basically kind of a checklist. Have you done this? Have you done that? Are you working on this? Are you working on that? And among the things that were listed there were, has your community passed any ordinances mandating energy efficiency in any way, or developed any policies around that? And, I thought that was something that we ought to, as a group, to be thinking about and talking about. I don't think anybody that I've talked to is too enthusiastic about creating, rules and regulations, although it might be useful to create recommendations for, people considering new construction. Bill?
Couple of years ago, we talked about working on building codes.
Yeah.
It never went anywhere, but that was a period, a period of a month or so. We talked about the benefits of doing that.
Right, and that's, I guess, maybe that was generated by this same document. I don't know does anybody else have any thoughts about that?
I'd be
Trevor?
interested in looking into it more.
Okay. Well, you're on the planning board, right?
Yeah, there's a natural synergy there.
All right, well, and so you have some insight into, what things they're considering and, okay, so that's something we can just, and, people can sort of put their thinking hats on and think about what they think might be appropriate and, of interest to the town. I think, yeah.
Just a thought on this, nothing, just an observation. A lot of the new homes that are being constructed are going to be built according to codes of the people who are designing the homes. They have a sense for what they want and what they need.
Yeah.
The real issue for the island, I think, remains the one we've been struggling with in many other ways. How do we help people who already have homes that are already deficit in the many ways that we need to improve?
Right.
And that comes down to two things, well, three: regulations, information, and money.
Mhm.
And so we don't have regulations. We don't have, we do have information. We have a lot of experience, but we don't have much money. So we're up against the same challenges that we've been up against up to now.
Right. So, right, existing homes, are not gonna be impacted by new codes unless they're,
Right.
adding an
Renovations or
addition
something
or
like that.
something like that, but,
But people can be encouraged.
well, that's part of some of the work that the prize has been working on.
Right.
Yeah, encouragement kind of only goes so far. Like the planning board did a lot to encourage more dense development, and we still don't have that yet because there's certain real obstacles in place. And so in addition to the recommendations, I think we also have to like pair people up with resources, making them ready to understand. And it might just be a matter of like when applications come to the planning board, make sure that they're aware of home efficiency upgrades that they can take advantage of.
Well, it's certainly something to think about, and you know, as we said, there's different levels of what you can do. Education, information, recommendations versus outright, you know, rulemaking and regulations.
But in terms of like tracking this, I think it'd be a good idea to like keep track of it so that we have like a measure of like efficiency on the island, like the number of people that whose homes we improved. And I think tracking that as a committee would be a useful exercise. So we don't just talk about like what we should do in recommendations, we can actually like track the impact of those things.
Yeah, we brought that up several times, Trevor. I think that's a really important feature. If we do work and nobody knows about it, we can't justify asking for money.
Yeah,
Well, that might be something good to put in the Island Fellow application, is develop a system for tracking.
Yeah.
but yes, I think that would be important, and I think, you know, we can try to compile as much information as we can about what we've already done in the last year.
Also for the energy prize, we did the home energy survey. So that's supposed to form a baseline that we can go back and every year follow up with those people and ask them what they've done to improve their homes and the reason why they did it. So yeah, basically it's supposed to start the framework for that tracking system.
Yeah, that's good. Any other thoughts? Dick?
The Brattle group that submitted the long, report to the governor's office last week, of which I've been involved with to some extent, they were very, very upbeat about load flexibility. By that, I mean time of use rates. And so I came in with a piece on time of use rates, which I proposed to the Utility Commission back last fall. And there was a lot of people responding to that. And they were all in favor of time of use, which means off-peak power available for everyone, including the island, which would be for charging electric vehicles or anything else.
So when you say off-peak, you mean at a lower cost? That's the
Of course,
point.
of course.
Well, that, I
Almost
wanted
every
that clear
time
stated.
at base load power.
Right.
And base load power is much less than peaking power, and fuel, and so on.
Is what you're talking about something to be available to all residents, or are you talking about just the town?
Right now, the
buildings?
Utility Commission is going to have to deal with the issue because the governor's office is dealing with it directly.
Mhm.
And that means that, for example, the Up Island Fire Station, which has not been constructed yet, I know Myrna and I have talked about it last week, that he would love to have a storage cement floor with energy stored in the cement floor, heat energy,
Mhm.
because the fire engine's really only 50 degrees or something to keep the water from freezing in the trucks. And that would be possible. And that means lower cost to the town, and also means you will not need a standby generator to keep the fire engines from freezing up.
Mhm.
Because the heat in the floor will last for several days if you charge it up properly.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of balls in the air is what I'm getting at with respect to the rate structures in Maine, which have been terrible for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And there've been higher price in Vermont, no question. So anyway, I'm gonna lean hard on time of use for this state, and that would be back right here.
Okay. So then the final thing was the community events. Now, we had talked at this meeting last couple of months about the possibility of having a community event of some kind, an educational event, maybe in midwinter when people are kind of stir crazy. When few of us sat down and we're talking about these grant applications, we thought it might be a good idea to do something early in December, and we came up with, you know, an early morning lunch meeting, on December 7th, really to begin educating the community about sort of the long-term projects that we've been talking about. I mean, a lot of people have heard from us, but we haven't really done a lot of direct, community, outreach events, such as the Sea Level Rise Committee has done. It doesn't preclude, we have funding, for community events, both in our current budget as well as in the prize money, so we could do a February event as well. I was wondering what people thought about that.
I was gonna speak to the first event.
Okay,
I have an update from the ICC.
okay,
This is an appropriate time to bring.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I talked with Cressica today, not Cressica, with Candace, excuse me, with Candace today. And what I have to preface this by saying is that the ICC has just updated its rate use for the buildings according to the type of need, the type of organization, the type of event, and so on. And I brought this up with Candace, and she said, sure, the building is available. Not only that, there's an event immediately before, which might bring an audience in because they're already in the building, right? And what she said is the normal rate for the use of the community center is $100 an hour, but because of our status on the island, we would be charged half that. So it'd be $50 an hour, total of $100 for 2 hours, assuming the time to set up and clean up and so on. But I apologize for not having brought this to the committee's attention before. I just wanted to see what Candace would say about it. But we had talked a long time, over months, about collaborations between the ICC and the Energy Committee. So I suggested that this meeting might be a great way for the ICC to showcase the new VRF system that's already been contracted and will be installed. And so when I talked to Candace today, she said, well, now if we were to collaborate on this, then the rate structure would be different. I mean, in fact, she didn't say that she would donate the time, but still it would be cheaper. So, and she said also that she's tied up that day with personal events. She couldn't spend a lot of time there, but she could dedicate some time to that end. So I think that's it. Basically, it would cost us $100 to have the room for 2 hours, and it might cost us less if we are clear collaborators with the ICC and provide them a partial forum.
so then the next question is, what type of event people would want to have. We could probably contract with somebody to cater sandwiches, for example, for, have it be or soup, or both.
What is the event before this one? Do you know?
Oh, yeah, it's the, I forgot the title of it, but it's about the identification of evergreens on the island and then the making of ornaments or potentially ornaments, but you press the evergreens into clay and then keep that as a record of what you've done. And it's apparently, Carrie and I thought it was targeted to children, but apparently it is not exclusively targeted to children. There are adults who will be participating. I mean, not even
So I guess
primarily.
that sounds like something that might have a lot of materials strewn around and some cleanup involved. I mean, would there be?
She seemed to think that there would be any
sufficient
problem. So there, I have now, forgive me, I've lost track of the actual time of their meeting, but it seemed as though there was enough intervening time for there to be any necessary cleanup. She didn't seem to have any concerns about that.
Okay, and you had given her the lunch time.
11 to 12:30,
Yeah, we had 11 to 12:30 is what we had talked about.
right? I told you that.
So we would be providing, yeah,
10 to 11 is their event,
okay.
10 to 11. Sorry, brain's slow.
Okay,
Is that pushing it a little bit if it's 11 to 12:30 for our event?
We just clean up faster, that's all. Not hard to do.
and so if we serve lunch, and then the question is, what kind of event people want to have? I mean, we could do just a presentation where one or more of us get up with PowerPoint and explain, probably have to start with, going back to ETIP and, how we got where we are now and what our long-range plans are, provided we get the funding that's needed. Or we could have just informational tables around. What do people think?
No, I'll wait for somebody else.
Yeah.
I can say something. What's worked really well for generating ideas in the past is having individual tables, like with like 3 or 4 community members at the table and then one facilitator from one of us that will allow, like try to elicit thoughts and ideas based on a rubric. And yeah, so that could be a follow-up to the presentation. We could also have some other kind of facilitated activity.
Yeah. Yeah, so have a presentation first and then have each table have their own discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
yeah.
exactly-
And then we could like mix it up. Yeah, we could also do a couple of rounds.
Keep the presentation short.
Yeah.
People are gonna go to sleep, they're gonna get bored if we just talk. I think what we need to do is do a really clean, rapid presentation of where we've been and where we wanna go. And then get people talking and, to add to what Cressica just said, we can have a series of questions that people can use as, initiation points for conversation. And then we get people to stop after a period of time, share what they've done. And then we take stock of that, then we initiate another round of conversations based upon the progress we've made after the first ones. Something like that, but keep people talking and thinking rather than just sitting there listening and falling asleep.
Well, I thought the whole point of this was to let people know what we were doing and what
That can be
exactly,
interspersed
well,
easily.
wait a minute, let me finish my thought, please. What exactly do we want them to be inputting on? Because we're already doing these grant applications, and if all of a sudden, it veers off into left of Saturn, yeah.
Yeah, so my thought with this was that specifically we want to get more community support for the grant application. And so we're
Yes.
identifying like ideas that could be useful for the grant application and people who want to take part in helping it or making commitments to it.
I think when you ask people questions and solicit their ideas and their input, yeah, you may get criticism, sure, you may get, ideas that are unrelated to our grant application that could then be put on a back burner or something, or, put in the parking lot. But you're gonna get people more enthusiastic about it if you're actually
They're gonna be
pulling them into
invested in
the
it.
discussion.
So I wasn't suggesting that we really have to get a lot of ideas from people on the island. What I was suggesting really is that they need to learn the basic needs themselves, and a directed conversation is probably the most effective way to bring them to that realization, rather than having us tell them, this is what we need to do, this is what we're going to do, how can you help us?
Right, well, and sometimes people, we need to be open to the fact that we might hear things that might influence what we're putting into the grants and our plans. I mean, there are other ideas and thoughts out there that you can have. Monica, you wanna?
I have another,
Yeah.
concern about all this. This sounds more complicated than what I was thinking we were going to do, and I'm not against it. It's just I'm not sure personally I can pull this off by December 7th, especially because there's
Janice-
Thanksgiving between now and then, and a lot of us are gone. So
Yeah, Janice, what were you thinking?
what was I thinking? I thought we were mostly going to do like an information session on what we're doing and kind of summarizing what we found, like with the prize and the solar properties here and there, and then mostly say stay tuned for more in the new year. That's what I thought this was about. I'm happy to have it be more of a community thing, but I personally don't think I have it in me to come up with rational questions and a structure to get this done by December 7th.
I can do it. It's something that I'm, doing frequently now, so I can do it and circulate a draft
Yeah, I'm
probably within the final week so that we can discuss it in the final week. Janice, and you can continue to work on the other applications.
okay.
Monica?
I do agree, especially if we're really wanting to become more engaged with the community and informed of what we're doing. I agree with Janice, this probably first luncheon that we're doing, a community event, it should be more informative instead of requiring questions, but gaining their questions and also their opinions during the session, we can answer maybe like a few, not all, just like, oh, what's this, what's that, like simple stuff. And then the following community event, we can bring it up and say, this was the public's concerns and comments and opinions, and we wanted to break it down. So then that way it's not all jam-packed within an hour and a half and you don't feel rushed giving out all the information, but you're able to inform, start that ball rolling, get their questions, and then the next community event, you can start breaking it down and being even more intertwined with the community.
If you lose them in the first event, they won't come to the second one.
Well,
Yeah, it'll just take some careful planning on what questions do we want to do so we keep it focused, not just, an ever widening.
Well, do like subjects, community outreaching, like you can focus one on, and I know the Energy Hub has done it, but there's still plenty opportunities bringing it up more because of what all is going on with different companies and grants.
right.
The municipality, energy stuff, the library, we can work with them at some point with the heat pumps and solar array, because not a lot of people in the public know about it. The future solar projects with future people, we can just, because we gotta give out so much information, but like you said, you don't wanna overwhelm yourself, no one wants to overwhelm themselves, and you don't wanna lose the interest of the community members, but the way we're moving with clean energy, there's so many opinions on this, on the island, that you want to engage with your community instead of just letting them constantly assume, because, if you assume it with you and me, so, but don't want to overwhelm yourself and don't want to overwhelm the community to get them bored.
Right.
Well, the other thing we could maybe do is, you have the information about like how to take care of batteries and be safe with batteries. And we have information on weatherization. We could do tables and with information on them maybe.
It seems to me that, it sounds like we're talking about enough to consider an event in December focused on informing the public about the grant application and what's included there, and including time for discussion. And then maybe a later event with information about all these other things, the fire issues, the weatherization, and some of the other things. There's really a lot out there that we should be engaging with the community on.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not going to have time to collect the information that we should be sharing with them, but if we give ourselves a few months, we'll be able to do that.
Right, yeah, no, I was thinking of that more as being a later meeting.
Yeah, I'm definitely agreeing with you.
So, I think we've got agreement in principle on the meeting, like the date, the location, rough parameters. I think maybe we should just form like a planning group to move the event forward.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I've been to meetings that do what Cressica has described, having focused discussions, breakout groups, and it does work well. What I've found is that the time goes by really fast.
Yeah, so you don't want to put too much in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Even
Exactly.
one question, for
Yeah,
discussion.
one question. Yeah, we want to keep it tight. I agree with that.
And then, or just, have, a committee member, we don't know how many people there'll be, a committee member at each table to keep questions, and that committee member might also have, some questions on hand to stimulate discussion.
Yeah. One of the ways.
It's also important to bring it back to the group, like
Yes.
that there's closing and that people
Wow,
feel that their
wrap up.
input actually like mattered in a summary. And so we should assume that we would want like an end presentation, like for closing it out.
Yeah, I mean, events that I've been to like that, there's usually a wrap up where the
Yep.
breakout groups each sort of summarize what they talked about. And,
Mhm.
but I don't know that we want to get that formal for this, or whether we even have time in an hour and a half to do that much.
I mean,
I think-
the thing that I want to get out of this is community engagement. And so
Yeah.
if people take the time to like discuss and answer the questions, I want them to feel like their voice is being heard and that it matters.
Yeah. Good point.
Now,
Yeah.
question with the ICC and the renting, does that rental cost cover the space of using the kitchen, or if we're gonna be catering, do we need to expect someone to bring the food to ICC?
I'm sure they would allow us to use the kitchen.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong on that, but by assumption, and that's the way the building has functioned in the past, is that the kitchen would be available to us.
Interesting.
I can verify that. What do we think about having Candace contribute? Is that something that we should explore and that might decrease the cost? It would also heighten the cooperativity amongst
Right.
two organizations.
It sounds like that might be something for the second meeting,
Okay,
if we're gonna focus on the grant at the first one.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, and $100 is really not that bad.
I agree.
Okay. All right, any other comments? So we'll form a small planning group and we'll move forward on that. That actually is before our next meeting, so it's really not very far off. So I think, given the short time frame, it will by necessity be, informal. When does the flyer go out? That
First.
people have,
The last day of the month.
okay,
So it has to be done 2 days before, is it?
I don't know, I'm not part of that process,
Yeah.
but we can find out from Tina.
well, so if we rent the ICC, will we then be able to list our event on there?
Newsletter.
Sure.
Events for the month.
Sure.
Or you can make your own flyer to include with the mailing.
We could do both. Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to assign people to the planning group right now, since
Okay,
there's not gonna be another meeting before?
so who wants to be on the planning group?
Well, I do, but I'm just not here a whole lot.
Okay. Jessica has already expressed an interest. Trevor, do you want to be part of
Yeah,
that?
I'm interested.
Okay. Okay. And I can help also, although like Janice, I'm not gonna be physically on the island for much of that time, but,
I'm available to help if anybody wants it.
okay.
Thanks, Bill.
I guess it would be good to find out when the flyer goes out, because if it's the end of the month,
She just said the first day, or is it
The last day.
the last day of the month?
I think.
well, but they get together and they collate it. So, and usually if you put a flyer in, they appreciate having somebody from the group there. But the last day of the month is the day after Thanksgiving. So it might be a little bit different in November.
Yes, it's, or, yeah,
I can help out with the mailing, getting it all settled and stapled. When I worked for ICC and then did sporting club, I'd come and help with the flyer sometimes. Like you did say, the town office is closed on the 28th, Thanksgiving, and the 29th, the Friday following. So it seems like the flyers should be readily available by Monday, the 25th, latest Wednesday, the 27th, if they're trying to send the flyer out for the first week of December. And that also causes concern because of the holiday. People may not get that mailer until after the event has occurred.
I would recommend checking with Tina on the deadline for this one.
Yeah, okay. Well, probably, you may want to do a constant comment announcement as well. And a Facebook announcement.
I can do the constant contact. If
Constant
somebody
contact,
sends me a flyer,
Okay,
I can do that.
Should I ask Candace to put this on the ICC
yeah,
distribution list,
Yes.
whatever?
Yeah.
Then we probably ought to have a title pretty quickly. Or some descriptive term anyway.
I was thinking like energy past, present, and future.
that sounds good.
Middlesboro.
Okay,
Sounds grand.
Yeah, maybe too grand.
Yeah, and we should also involve community in there as well, like like community feedback, community energy, something like that.
well, when you know what you want, let me know and I'll pass it on to Candace.
Okay, we'll brainstorm.
Um,
A detail for the planning group to figure out.
Okay. All right, so any other comments? Okay, our next meeting is December 9th at 5:15. A motion to adjourn,
So,
and a second. Okay, so those are the vote. Trevor? Yeah. He says, great, Janice,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Holly?
Yes.
Dick?
Yeah.
Bill?
yes.
Yes, yes, okay, we are adjourned.
Like,
Next month.
It's 10 cents a kilowatt hour.